The viral images of an adult industry star posing in the heart of Tehran were never just about a vacation, and today we are following the money to see exactly how this creator turned a geopolitical firestorm into a masterclass in industry survival. When Whitney Wright shared photos from the site of the former United States Embassy in Iran, the internet exploded with two distinct narratives. On one side, critics accused her of being a mouthpiece for a restrictive regime. On the other, fans defended her right to travel. But while the public was busy debating international diplomacy, the real story was unfolding in the back-end analytics of the Blue site and the strategic shift of a brand that was facing a plateau. To understand the reality of the situation, we have to answer three critical questions. First, how did a creator with this specific professional background manage to secure entry into a country where her work is strictly prohibited? Second, what do the subsequent engagement spikes tell us about the financial viability of rage baiting in the spicy content industry? And third, was this a coordinated PR move designed to pivot her brand toward political commentary as a long-term exit strategy? To peel back the first layer of this complex business maneuver, we have to look at the financial receipt of the engagement to revenue pipeline. Per data analysis of social media growth during the week of February 5, 2024, the backlash did not result in a mass exodus of followers. Instead, it created a massive curiosity gap that most creators can only dream of. When a creator is labeled a quote-unquote propaganda tool by major political commentators, the natural instinct for the average internet user is to find out who they are and what they actually do. This curiosity almost always leads back to the link in the bio. Internal metrics from similar controversies in the industry show that hate subscribing is a very real phenomenon. While critics were typing long threads about the morality of the trip, the creator was allegedly seeing a significant uptick in profile visits from regions and demographics that had never previously engaged with her work. The reality is that in the spicy content game, a headline about a political scandal is often more profitable than a headline about a new video release because it reaches an audience outside of the existing bubble. This reach into the mainstream is the holy grail for those looking to maximize their lifetime value as a public figure. The most shocking element of this entire saga, and our second major payout, involves the sheer audacity of the entry process. According to reports from the semi-official Tasnim news agency in February 2024, the Iranian visa system was allegedly unaware of Wright's specific occupation when her application was processed. While the Ministry of Foreign Affairs later claimed she was issued a visa like any other foreign citizen, industry insiders suggest a much more calculated approach. In the adult world, when your primary platform is subject to constant shadow banning and payment processor hurdles, your most valuable asset is your name appearing in non-industry news cycles. By visiting a location that is a literal no-go zone for most Western influencers, Wright didn't just get a stamp in her passport, she triggered a global SEO event that linked her name to high-authority news outlets like The Guardian and Al Jazeera. This wasn't an accident. It was an intentional bridge-building exercise between the adult world and the mainstream political sphere, ensuring her brand remained relevant even if her primary content was suppressed by social media algorithms. Imagine the cost of a PR firm trying to get an adult performer into the pages of international broadsheets. This trip achieved that for the cost of a plane ticket and a modest hotel stay. Moving into the third major point of analysis, we have to examine the timeline contradictions that suggest a deeper agency involvement. Per leaked discussions among industry consultants on February 12, 2024, the timing of the trip coincided perfectly with a downward trend in spicy search terms across major platforms. The industry was becoming saturated, and the usual collab videos were no longer generating the 10% month-over-month growth required by top-tier agencies. By introducing a geopolitical element, the creator effectively bypassed the algorithm's fatigue. This is what insiders call contextual diversification. You aren't just selling a look anymore, you are selling a perspective. The reality of the Tehran trip was that it provided months of legacy content, interviews, podcasts, and debates that keep the creator's name in the mouth of the public without her having to film a single new scene. This is the ultimate passive income play in the attention economy. If you can make people talk about your travel choices for 3 months, you don't need to post a teaser every day to maintain your subscription base. Furthermore, we must address the legal and PR shield that this trip provided. According to an analysis of her content trajectory throughout 2024 and into 2025, there is a clear trend toward activism-themed content. By positioning herself as a person who is willing to see the truth for herself, she is building a fortress around her brand that makes it harder for platforms to deplatform her. If she is viewed as a political commentator or a documentary-style traveler, a ban becomes a matter of censoring a voice rather than moderating content. It's a high-stakes legal and PR shield that few in her position have the bravery or the business acumen to execute. This leads into the fourth significant factor, the diversification of the fan funnel. When you attract people through a political controversy, you are reaching a demographic with higher disposable income, older, more politically engaged individuals who are often more loyal than the younger, fickle audience of the viral, spicy trends. According to industry analyst reports from late 2024, creators who engage in high-level public discourse see a 15% higher retention rate on their paid platforms compared to those who rely solely on physical aesthetics. The most shocking element of this entire saga, and our second major payout, involves the sheer audacity of the entry process. In the modern era, if an adult creator is canceled for their work, they often lose everything. But by being canceled for a political visit to Iran, Wright actually gained a new set of defenders, those who value free speech and independent travel above all else. According to her own social media rebuttals on February 8, 2024, she leaned heavily on the idea that she was being judged more harshly than other travelers, simply because of her blue site status. This created a victim narrative that is incredibly powerful for community building. Her core fans didn't just see a traveler, they saw a woman being bullied by the mainstream media and the government. This us versus them mentality is the strongest bond you can create in a subscription-based business. It transforms a subscriber into a supporter, and a supporter into a lifetime member of the brand. Looking at the sixth and final payout, we see the impact on her exit strategy. Most professionals in the spicy industry have a 3 to 5 year window of peak earnings before they have to find a new path. By associating her name with international news, she has laid the groundwork for a career in hosting, documentary filmmaking, or political punditry. According to reports from independent media outlets in mid-2025, her appearance fees for non-industry events have allegedly tripled since the Tehran incident. She is no longer just a creator, she is a personality. This is how you win the long game. You use the attention from the adult work to fund a lifestyle and a brand that can eventually survive without it. The reality of the trip was that it was an investment in her 2030 career, not just her 2024 earnings. Of course, the backlash was not without its costs. According to reports from Iranian dissident groups, the visit sparked genuine outrage among those who felt her presence was being used to normalize a regime with a documented history of restricting women's rights. Wright hit back at these claims on social media, stating that sharing photos of a museum is not an endorsement of a government. Legally, she is on solid ground. She did not violate any U.S. sanctions by simply visiting and taking photos. However, the business risk was that she might alienate her core Western audience. But the data suggests the opposite happened. By standing her ground and leaning into the controversy, she solidified her rebel status. In the attention economy, being liked is good, but being debated is better. Every news article that mentioned her name was a free advertisement for her paid platforms, worth tens of thousands of dollars in traditional marketing spend. The strategy used here is a masterclass in what we call the vice pivot. It involves taking the stigma associated with the industry and using it as a weapon to force your way into conversations where you weren't invited. Per the leaked agency contracts discussed in industry circles in late 2024, more management groups are now looking for hook events that have nothing to do with adult content. They are looking for ways to make their talent mainstream famous for being controversial. This is the shift from the collab era to the chaos era. In the chaos era, the most successful person is the one who can generate the most headlines with the least amount of explicit material. Wright's trip to Tehran is the gold standard for this. She didn't have to post anything provocative to become the most talked about person on the internet for a week. She just had to stand in front of a building in a headscarf. As we look at the aftermath in late 2025, the impact on her career is undeniable. She has moved from being just another creator on the blue site to a figure who is invited on major podcasts to discuss geopolitics and censorship. She successfully used a single trip to leapfrog over the glass ceiling of the adult industry. The takeaway for anyone watching the game is simple. Controversy is a currency, and if you can survive the initial heat, the financial and brand-building rewards are astronomical. This trip wasn't a mistake. It was a pivot. It was the moment a creator realized that the most valuable thing she could sell wasn't her content, but her context. She forced the world to look at her through a different lens, and in doing so, she rewrote the rules for how an adult professional can command the global stage. The transition from spicy creator to political raid lightning is the ultimate power move in 2025, and it's a strategy we're seeing more frequently as the industry becomes more crowded and competitive. The reality is that the expectations versus reality of the Tehran trip wasn't about a girl who got lost in a foreign country. It was about a business mogul who found exactly what she was looking for, a way to become unignorable. This is the new blueprint for industry longevity. It's no longer about who has the best production values. It's about who can spark the most intense conversation. As we summarize this case study, it's clear that the financial receipts and the brand pivot were the true objectives from the very first photo. To see how other top-tier creators are using these same psychological triggers to build massive empires while staying completely under the radar of the mainstream, you need to dive into the next chapter of the game. To truly grasp the scale of this, one must understand the agency effect. Behind every major viral controversy in the industry today, there is usually a team of data scientists and PR experts who have mapped out the outrage trajectory before the first post even goes live. Per an industry whistleblower in June 2025, these agencies often have war rooms where they simulate the public response to a stunt like the Tehran trip. They calculate the risk of deplatforming versus the reward of new subscribers. In Wright's case, the reward outweighed the risk by a factor of 10. This level of sophistication is what separates the independent creators from the industry moguls. You are no longer just watching a person live their life, you are watching a multi-layered marketing campaign unfold in real time. The Tehran trip was the beta test for a new kind of celebrity, one that thrives on being misunderstood by the masses while being perfectly understood by their paying audience. The final reinforcement we must consider is the insider takeaway. The Blue Site is no longer just a site for videos, it is a platform for funding a lifestyle that allows for this kind of high-risk, high-reward experimentation. Without the financial cushion provided by her industry work, Wright would likely never have been able to take such a risk. But because she is self-funded, she doesn't have to answer to corporate sponsors or Hollywood agents. She is her own studio, her own PR firm, and her own political commentator. This level of autonomy is the real secret of the elite in this space. They aren't looking for a seat at the table, they are building their own table in a completely different room. The strategy used here is just one piece of a much larger puzzle involving agency contracts and legal loopholes that most people don't even know exist. To get the full picture and stay ahead of the next major industry shift, you need to see the Velvet Rope Industry Secrets playlist, where we pull back the veil on the real money moves being made today. From the way shadow banning is actually used by agencies to create artificial scarcity, to the legal maneuvers used to protect earnings from international tax authorities, the playlist is the essential next step to understand the game. Don't just watch the drama, understand the business behind it. The Tehran trip was just the beginning of a new era of industry power plays, and if you aren't looking at the receipts, you're missing the whole story. Join us at the Velvet Rope to see how the top 1% are really playing the game.